Hello again. In the first two videos in this series, we looked to see if there's a difference between 2.2mm and 2mm sponge thickness Giant Dragon Maxspin. In the first series, we looked at the physical properties. In the second of the series, we looked at robot testing with regards to speed and rebound throw height. In this third series, we're going to look at the human element, the most important one, because you the user, are the one that's going to affect how this rubber performs most of all. To test for this human element, I asked two of our Premier League players, Kieran Bezic and Adam Linton, to try the rubbers out when playing a variety of shots. These were serving, returning serve, pushing, topspin drive, block, power loop, brush loop, smash and chop. The blade used in this test is a Butterfly Timor Ball ALC with an offensive rating. The blade weighs 95 grams. But with the 2 and 2.2mm sponge versions of Giant Dragon Maxspin glued onto the blade, using Butterfly Free Shack, the combined weight of the setup jumps up to 185 grams. None of the players that were doing these tests knew what they were testing or why, and to ensure this, I covered the name of the top sheet of the 2.2mm sponge version with red tape and the 2mm sponge with yellow tape. This is why when the players talk about these rubbers, they refer to them simply as yellow or red. So on with the tests. Serving.
I prefer the red rubber.
Why?
Because it's a lot softer.
A lot softer?
And more control.
More control, okay. Kieran, which did you prefer?
I found the red better, just generated a lot more spin.
Both players preferred the 2.2mm version for serving. Return of serve.
Serves on the... is it the red rubber?
Return of serve, you prefer the red rubber?
I prefer the red rubber.
Because
it's more grippier and it's, you know, it's... I find it a lot more quicker.
A lot quicker?
Yeah.
Okay, Kieran?
I preferred the red. It seemed to hold the ball a little bit better than the yellow. And you could flick easier with it.
Again, both players preferred the red 2.2mm version for returning serve. Pushing. Pushing?
Pushing definitely yellow. A lot more control.
Is it flatter, higher or?
A lot flatter.
A lot flatter?
I agree.
You also prefer the yellow push?
I prefer the yellow for pushing.
Because?
It's like my friend on my left hand side, it's a lot more quicker.
It's a lot slower. It was slower, it was easier, more control, a lot more control with the yellow.
This time, both players preferred the yellow 2mm version for pushing. Topspin driving.
It's the red all day long. A lot spinnier. It comes off nice and quick.
Significantly better.
Yeah.
100%. I agree.
Both players preferred the red 2.2mm version. Blocking.
The blocking was a lot better with the red.
Okay, so we'll move on to the block. You prefer the red?
Red for the block. Again, more spin. The ball comes off it with a bit of pace. Whereas with the yellow, you had to punch through it and play. I'm used to playing the shot with what I normally use, but you had to really do something with the yellow, and there was no pace there at all.
Okay, what about did it dip better off the red or the yellow, or easier to control?
It was a lot easier. It was easier to control. You didn't have to do anything with the red. You know, it just came off and it went.
Adam?
With the red, I find it's more easy to control with the red. And with the yellow, it's to block with the yellow, you've got to force it, you've got to meet the ball halfway, you've got to really force it. Where the red, you can it's easier to block with the red.
Okay. So both players preferred the red 2.2mm version, with the ball coming off it with better pace and requiring less effort to play the shot. This is interesting because again in our robot blocking tests, the 2mm sponge version was a little bit faster than the 2.2mm one. And it also had a lower, flatter trajectory, causing the ball to clip or hit the net more often when the bat angle was kept the same for both the 2 and 2.2mm versions. This could be an example where feel and the effort involved in playing the shot has more of an impact on someone's perceptions than the actual outcome or the results of the shot. Feel versus effect. Loop with power.
Loop with power, I'd fancy the red for loop with power. It's more grippy, I find it. The yellow is more, it's more flat. I'd say that the yellow is more of a knitting rubber.
I was surprised with the looping. I thought the yellow weren't bad. The red was better, but the yellow was a lot better than I thought. There was a lot more control. You've had a full-bodied shot, it still went on the table, whereas the red, someone the red went off the end.
Spin-wise?
Spin-wise, the red was good. The yellow had nothing there.
Both players preferred the red 2.2mm version for looping with power. Brush looping. Okay, brush looping.
Even more so, the red had nothing there. The red was spinning it up and he was putting it off the end of the table. With the yellow, there was nothing there.
I agree with the red. I'd find it more easier to spin the ball with the red. With the yellow ball, the rubber's too hard. It's too flat.
Once again, both players preferred the red 2.2mm sponge version. Interestingly, although Adam refers to the 2mm yellow version as being the harder one, those of you who've seen the first video in this series will know that it's actually the red 2.2mm version which is harder, measuring 46 degrees as opposed to 44 for the yellow 2mm one. Smashing.
Smashing, I'd find the yellow ball, yellow back rubber, for smashing for some reason, because it's a flat rubber, and you don't have to put a lot through it when you're hitting with it.
I didn't like either of them to hit with. It's probably because I can't smash. I thought the red would be a lot better, but it wasn't. They were both poor.
Adam preferred the yellow 2mm sponge version. Kieran didn't like either, feeling both were poor. Again, Adam's comments reflect how different rubbers will perform differently depending on the type of shot that's being played. When Adam and Kieran were blocking, they both felt that the red rubber required less effort. But when it comes to smashing, Adam now feels that it's the yellow rubber that requires less effort. Now this might also reflect the role that the blade has to play when you're playing certain types of shots, but that is covering a different topic, one we might cover later. Chopping. Although Kieran and Adam are both topspin attack players who also like to block occasionally, and neither of them are really choppers, I thought it might still be interesting to see how they felt that these two rubbers performed when chopping. And you also need to remember that people who do chop generally tend to use a thinner sponge than either the 2.2 or the 2mm version. So in many senses this isn't really a fair test for this thickness of sponge. Okay, chopping, which is not something you...
Surprisingly, I am a mean chopper. With a fast bat I can chop. I thought the red was quite good. I thought it would be the other way around. I thought the yellow would be a lot better to chop with, but the red was nice. The yellow was rubbish.
I agree. I fancy the red rubber for chopping. The yellow rubber, I find it too flat. And
did you get one on with the red?
I got 3 or 4 on with the red, but the yellow rubber, I'd find it very hard to control. It comes off the bat too quick.
Couldn't control the spin with the yellow rubber.
Surprisingly, both players preferred the red 2.2mm sponge version. So to sum up the players' preferences, both players preferred the 2.2mm red sponge version for serving, return of serve, topspin drive, blocking, looping with power, brush loop and chopping. So the resounding preference for our Premier League table tennis players was for the red 2.2mm sponge version. However, as table tennis manufacturers and sellers generally refer to table tennis rubbers according to spin, speed and control ratings, and table tennis is a game that's played by all ages and abilities, not just league players, I thought I'd also ask Jonah Bolton and Chris Bolton for their opinions on these rubbers. Jonah is one of our juniors and has been playing for a couple of years and plays in Division 2. Chris's father only plays occasionally on a social basis, so he hardly ever gets to play the game. So which did all of our 4 players think was the fastest?
Red.
Red was faster?
Yeah.
I agree. Red ball.
Which was the faster rubber?
Yellow.
Yellow?
Yellow, faster. Quite a bit, yeah.
Yellow, yeah, yellow.
Is that for all the shots or just the three?
For all of them, really, I thought.
Adam and Kieran, our experienced spin attack Premier League players, both felt the red 2.2mm version was the faster, whilst Jonah, who is learning the game, and Chris, who doesn't really spin the ball, thought the yellow 2mm sponge version was faster. Now this is interesting because you have 4 players coming up with different results. 2 think that the red 2.2mm sponge is faster, 2 think that the yellow 2mm sponge is faster. And in reality, our robot testing showed that for a rebound test, it was the yellow one which was quicker. So it really goes to demonstrate that you, the person, will have a dynamic impact on how a rubber performs. And which is the spinniest?
The red, because it was a lot spinny on the serves and a lot spinny when hitting, I think.
I had trouble with the spinny a bit, probably because I don't spin a lot. I didn't notice a major difference on spinny, I just noticed the speed.
Okay, spinnier rubber?
Red.
Red.
Definitely.
Definitely.
100%.
So all 3 of our league players found the red 2.2mm version spinnier. Only Chris, our occasional social player, couldn't tell a difference. And again, this could be reflective of technique and ability. Control. Okay, better control?
Red.
Yellow. Yellow, definitely.
How did you think yellow?
Why? It was on the push in the touch shots, it was easy. You had to do something with it. It's a lot slower. There's a lot more control there.
I find the yellow is a lot harder to control because it's you know it's not a grip as rubber as the red. So I think it flies off the yellow.
The yellow again for me. I just preferred the yellow.
Easier to control.
Yeah.
I like a faster rubber, so I suppose for me I like the yellow. I suppose for control, the red one, which was putting the ball a lot further back on the table, a lot tried to hit a lot harder, so I suppose it's more control that.
Once again, there was a difference of opinion, with 2 players preferring the red 2.2mm version for control and 2 players the yellow 2mm version. And this could come down to how you define control. For example, if you're a type of player that thinks speed will impact on your control, then you might go for the yellow one. If you think spin will give you control, your ability to make the ball come up and come down, then you might go for the red one, because that's the spinnier rubber. Either way, it's a relative concept control, and there is no real or right answer to this particular question. It'll depend again on you and what your preferences are, and whether they felt the rubbers suited forehand or backhand.
It's a difficult one, that, because they're different, aren't they? I suppose I'd have for the forehand I'd have the yellow one, and backhand I'd have the red.
Just the yellow on both.
Okay, would you say one of those would suit the forehand better or the backhand better? Or?
Don't think the yellow one would suit anything better. The red might be okay for a backhand. I wouldn't like to use it all the time on my forehand.
The red, I wouldn't like to use it on the backhand. I find it a bit slow on my backhand.
The red?
You know, the red.
And that was the faster of the 2 rubbers?
Correct.
Once again, there is a difference of opinion. Our 2 experienced players wouldn't use either version on their forehand, whereas Jonah and Chris would both use the yellow one. The red was only occasionally selected for the backhand. And then to the moment of truth, when I asked the players to remove the tape that was covering the names on the rubbers. This was interesting.
It's bringing the rubber off. It's cheap, whatever it is. Oh, come on. There's one. That's it then, and you completely destroy it. Giant Dragon Maxspin.
Okay, and on the other one?
And the yellow was...
Yeah.
That was cheap. Yes, it was. Oh, it was exactly the same. Can't be.
No, it can't be.
You can feel it.
Paul.
One of them is 2.2mm, which is the red. The yellow is 2mm. And it's 2 degrees difference in hardness. One's 46 degrees, which is
The red.
they're both the same rubber, but one's 2.2mm, which is the red one, and one's 2mm, which is the yellow one. There's a little bit difference in hardness. Did that surprise you?
Yeah, it did. Yeah, thought they were completely different.
I was
How
right.
come it's that
Have a
much
little bit on
tackier and that much spinnier? It's you.
Quality control.
It's nowhere near as spinny the other. You expect it to the thinner to be slower, but not to rack that much spin.
I am surprised, yeah. I think if that's the case, it makes a hell of a difference then.
Conclusion. Our question right at the start of this video series was whether or not you could tell the difference between a 2 and a 2.2mm sponge version. And now we have our answer, an unequivocal yes. But unfortunately, because of the variations in these two rubbers that I'm testing, we can only say that for the two rubbers we tested in these videos, Giant Dragon Maxspin. And you might find that if you buy these rubbers yourself, there will be variations because of the tackiness, non-tackiness, sponge hardness. And what we've also shown is that although you'll actually get ratings on rubbers, and the manufacturers will supply these on the actual sheets for speed, spin, control, etc., they can be quite misleading. Not just between rubbers, but also between ability and the type of shots you play. Some shots you might find a 2mm sponge faster, others you might find a 2.2mm sponge version faster. So to have one speed and one control and one spin rating applied to any thickness rubber, any hardness rubber, can be very misleading. Perhaps it's getting to the stage now where manufacturers do away with spin control and speed ratings and just stick to telling us what type of style their rubbers perform best at and how close to the table. General type of descriptions. So, if you're wondering what thickness sponge to get for yourself, should it be 1.8, 2, 2.2? We can't really help you other than to say that the best piece of advice we can give is to try the particular rubber on your blade. See how they compare, see how they work for you, see what style they suit you for. And bear in mind, we've only looked at inverted rubber here. If you get sponge and apply it to a pimpled rubber, totally different effects. But that's another series. Thank you for watching.